Welcome. Today we are going to see about the short story elements. What are the elements in the short story? So it is a very important how we need to write with this element. So shall we start? Essential elements to write short story. That is essential element to write short story. What are the elements we need to include when we write short story? It's a very important one. It is easy to write a fiction, but it is very difficult to write the short story, because these are the elements we must follow when we are writing the short story. Okay, now what are the things is, first thing, the very important in the element is the plot. The plot is a very important one, and conflict. As we all know how the conflict will change the story. And the another important one is the setting. A setting is a very important one, because with the setting only we can understand the story and the background of the story. And the very much important one is character. That is the characters. We must introduce properly the characters. So these are the important elements in short story. So for I have given this 4 is a very important, and how we need to do the plot, conflict, setting, character in short story. So we'll see in the detail. Plot. The plot is a very important one when we write the short story. So how we need to write the plot? Here we have a description of the plot and the definition of the plot. What is meant by plot? As we all know already, a plot is nothing but the sequence of events told in a story. Plot is also known as a narrative structure. There are usually considered to be 5 elements in a plot line: exposition or background information, rising action, that which complicates the story, and climax or crisis, falling action, and resolution. The plot describes the structure of a story. So the plot is a very important. It shows arrangement of events and action within a story. So we'll see how the plot is divided into a session. For example, the plot, it is divided into the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, or either it can be a resolution or a denouement. So it can be end in either a resolution or not denouement. So with this 2 only it can end. So it's a very important. The exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution or denouement. These are the important in the plot. By this only the plot it carries. It is a procedure of the plot. So first is the exposition. We'll see what is meant by exposition. As we all know that exposition is a very important, and it is a very beginning of the plot. It is a beginning of the plot. Exposition is nothing but the part of the plot that provides the reader with background information, introducing the setting, character and main conflict. So with this itself we come to know the setting, character and the main conflict. The exposition usually occurs at the beginning of a novel or a story, and may be a short or long. The start of the story, the situation before the action starts. It provides background information about characters and circumstances. So it's a very important. The exposition is the very beginning of the short story, or either any story or a novel. Next, rising action. It is the second one. The rising action. It is also a very important one. The part of the plot where the round characters are developed. The conflicts are increased and acted out in many ways. Motives are introduced. Things happen. Generally the major part of a novel or a story. Rising action includes a series of events that increase the tension, propel the plot forward and lead to the climax of the story. So it is also a very, very important one. The rising action is a very, very important one. Next one is the climax. As we all know, the climax is a very, very important in the story. It can in a novel or a story, wherever, whichever we take, the climax is the important one. Here we have a turn of thought. That is, it can turn the novel, either it can finish in a happy or a sad. The part of the plot that is the point of the greatest tension in a work of literature and the turning point in the action or a plot. It is the most intense moment, either mentally or in action. In a plot line, the climax occurs after the rising action and before the falling action. So it is either it comes there or it ends there. Yes, next is a falling action. So what is meant by falling action? The falling action is a very, very important one which comes after the climax. It comes after the climax. What is meant by falling action? Falling action is a part of the plot in a work of literature that follows the climax and ends in the resolution. This is in contrast to the rising action which leads up to the plot's climax. The part of the plot which follows the climax and diminishes the tension before the resolution. So it is a very, very important. It comes after the climax and ends in the resolution. So what is meant by resolution? What is meant by a resolution? I already informed. The plot can finish either in a resolution or in a denouement. So what is meant by resolution? The conclusion of the plot's conflict and complication. Events immediately following the climax, a kind of cleaning up. Resolution is a part of the story's plot line in which the problem of the story is resolved or worked out. This occurs after the falling action and is typically where the story ends. Where everything ends, the readers may have some sense of closure. So this is called resolution. So the resolution is nothing but it comes in the sense of closure. Okay, what is meant by denouement? It can either in a resolution or a denouement, I said. So what is meant by denouement? So the plot can either end in a resolution or it can be end in the denouement. So we'll see what is meant by denouement. It's a very, very important one. The denouement. So it is also a part of a plot which comes at the end. So denouement is a French word meaning the unraveling or unknotting. Sometimes referred to as the part of the plot in which a resolution or clarification takes place, but often truly containing no firm resolution to tensions or conflicts. So it is called denouement. So it is a French word. The denouement is a French word. So these are the plot division. Okay, we'll see next after a plot what is the important one. After the plot, the important one is conflict. As we all know, the conflict is the important one which comes in the elements of short story, which comes after the plot in the elements of short story. So it is also a very, very important element when we are writing the short story. We all must clear what is meant by conflict. So conflict is a struggle between the opposing forces on which the action in a work of literature depends. There are 5 basic forms of conflict: person versus person, person versus self, and person versus nature, and the person versus society. Person versus society and person versus God. So these are the conflict, that is a basic 5 basic conflict. Next, the important one after conflict is setting. The setting is important. All the elements are very, very important. But when we take a setting, the setting which gives the background of the story. So we'll see how we need to have a settings while we are writing the short story. So these are the techniques we need to use to write a creative manner in what we are writing. Settings. The setting is the context in which the action occurs, includes time, place and social environment. So we must always think about the social environment as well as the time and the place and how the action occurs. So it is also very, very important in the settings. Okay, next after settings what we have, the last one is the character. The character is the important thing in the short story. But we always say the character name. Even though whether we remember the story full or not, all the stories in the sense the full of the story or not, but we usually remember the character name of the character. For example, the woodcutter, and then Cinderella, and the Lion King. So these are the characters it always reflects in our mind. Characters' development in a short story is generally limited to the major character. Such a character can be said to be a complex or rounded, a distinct from simple or a flat character. Most characters in a short story do not need to develop. Other names for types of characters are stock characters or stereotyped characters. So these are the development we must see in the characters. So its characters is a very, very important while we are writing the short story. Okay, these are the elements in short story. If you like this video, kindly subscribe this channel and click the bell icon to know the notification. Upcoming the video can be notified to your mobile. So kindly subscribe this channel and click the bell icon to have a notification. If you like my explanation, kindly click the like button, and if you are willing to share, you can share to your friends. So thank you friends for watching this video and spending your valuable time to watch this video. Thank you, and thank you all. Subscribe and give a support to increase my video.